Ladies, gentlemen, today we are diving into an interesting topic about shortcuts, somewhat controversial, but still interesting nonetheless. So, as some of you might know, I'm doing a Starting Over series where a couple of months ago I decided to begin all over in GTA Online. Now, the thing is, I started over with the Criminal Enterprise pack, so I had some businesses, some money, a handful of vehicles right from the start. This kinda set me up to at least make some real money right from the very start, granted. The Paleto Bay bunker is absolutely horrendous, but still, it may be about 10 million in-game in total. So the topic is simple. I posted a community message saying that one shortcut at the very start of your career is not a bad thing and would set you up for your future money-making endeavors. That way you're able to buy the businesses needed to at least get you started. The community poll had 3 answers. 1, that's needed. 2, that's needed but I'm against microtransactions, and 3, it's not needed. Out of 3,000 people who voted, 9% said it's needed, over half said it's needed but I'm against microtransactions, and 35% said it isn't needed. So I'm gonna pick some comments on that thread and discuss them with you. And of course I'll discuss answers from all sides. I'm gonna try my best to stay open-minded to all answers as I respond to them, and I'd love for this conversation to carry over in the comments down below. So let's begin. Tyler says, I was personally never against shortcuts until Rockstar started introducing all these ridiculously expensive paywalls that make 8 million not go as far as it used to. You can't inflate the in-game economy as heavily as GTA has and still charge the same amount of money. That's garbage, that's anti-consumer. He brings up a very interesting and true point. The value of shortcuts has decreased so drastically. When GTA Online was still in infancy, a shortcut would get you so much. You could buy an adder, the nicest properties the game has to offer, a helicopter, a plane, and you'd still have money left to spend. But like I said, what Tyler points out is true. That same shortcut does not have the same value anymore, especially not with the paywalls. The best example I can give for a paywall is the Mark II oppressor. In order to get that and to get it functioning the way it's most efficient in PvE and PvP, well, you'd need a nightclub starting at $1,080,000, the terabyte base price of $1,375,000, the oppressor Mark II, and if you unlock the trade price for it, it would become $3 million, and then you'd need the rockets for $180,000. So for roughly $6.5 million, you'd have a Mark II oppressor. You can buy a shortcut, a Megalodon shortcut, for roughly $70 to $80, and that would give you $8 million. You'd nearly blow your entire shortcut just on acquiring that oppressor the fastest way, and then you don't really have any other upgrades for your nightclub, terabyte, or oppressor. Another example of price inflation is by simply looking at the vehicles themselves. The Adder used to come in at a whopping 1 million. The T20 that released around the ill-gotten gains era costed more than double, and the Tesseract cost nearly triple the price of the Adder. So prices went up, but shortcut value remains the same. Let's move over to the next person and stay more on topic of whether it is needed to buy a shortcut at the very start. Michael Shelton says, it's totally not needed at all. Most new players just don't know how the game works and spend all the money they make on random purchases. If a new player saves their money, they can buy an MC Clubhouse, then a business, use that business to buy the next until they have all 5, then use that money to buy a nightclub, and they're pretty much all set. After the nightclub is up and running, they should get it and buy a CEO office and a vehicle cargo warehouse. Michael doesn't think it's needed at all and that most people don't know how the game works, and that is kinda true, especially for newcomers. GTA Online can be really overwhelming for a new player. There's a lot of things to do, a lot of things to buy, and finding out what works and what doesn't work kind of makes making money really hard. But the thing that I personally noticed, even when there are double money events, you'd still have to invest quite a bit of time in the game to actually start making the real money. I work a 9-to-5 job besides YouTube, so even if I were to casually play GTA Online religiously every night, it still takes a very, very long time to get started with the businesses. That is, at least for me, with limited time. In the end, it just boils down to how much time you have and how much time you're willing to invest in the game. game. And if you do have the time and have the friends to help you out doing the actual sell missions, what Michael says is definitely not impossible. We are moving over to DSDK Gaming, who brings up an interesting point as well. He says there's at least two major problems with shortcuts. The first of all, it's pay to win, and that's not okay in any online game. And second, the success of shortcuts has caused every new item added to the game to cost more and more to encourage players to buy even more shortcuts. Personally, I don't like microtransactions, but it's here to stay. So shortcuts should only be used to get some secondary form of currency that only lets you buy cosmetics for yourself, for your vehicles, and for your properties. Not war machines or high-end weapons that can be used to terrorize other players with, or cars to get ahead in races. The first point he brings up is something I've been on the fence for a long time. On one hand, I 100% agree. Pay to win is not okay in any online game. But the other side of the story is, what is there to win? Because it's depending on the player what he uses the vehicles and the shortcuts for. If you just want to buy a nightclub to enjoy yourself in there, is it bad to buy a shortcut? Is it bad for people who buy a shortcut just for a facility, for your friends to enjoy the Doomsday Heist? I don't think that is the issue really. On the other hand, you have people using shortcuts and vehicles to get an advantage in PvP, and that's where it kind of becomes a problem. Not in GTA Online alone, but in any game that has PvP and microtransactions to further your PvP abilities. The second point he brings up is the success of microtransactions in GTA Online. The SDK says that it's the whole reason why the prices got inflated, and that also is undoubtedly true. Of course, Take-Two and Rockstar want shortcuts to make a profit. Every business does. The other side of that coin is, would we still be getting updates for GTA Online if the microtransactions didn't make a profit? If GTA Online was not a commercial success for both Rockstar and Take-Two, they'd probably be pushing different games right now, and a lot of us would not be playing this game anymore. Then he points out that the microtransactions should only be used as a second form of currency, just to buy cosmetics for yourself, weapons, and properties. And I agree, I think any good game that implements cosmetic transactions is fine. The Borderlands series and a handful of other games, the dreaded Fortnite included, they kinda do that, and it doesn't get in the way of anything and other people. So next up, Valkyrie reiterates a lot of these points, but the one thing I'd like to quickly mention is this. Shortcuts are good for the community. Those too lazy, IRL wealthy, or ill-informed will buy the cards and fund updates for the rest of us. I can't stress enough, you can't forget about the part of the player base who don't have the time to grind and just want to enjoy the new stuff. They are a part of the community as well, and they'd buy shortcuts just to enjoy themselves without the hassle of putting in a lot of hours in the game. Now on the other hand, you of course have the people who do have that time to spare to grind the game, and those people are gonna be just fine. Bleach22 is one of the people who did buy a shortcut to set himself up, and he has this to say. I've only bought one shortcut to skip grinding more money for a car warehouse. After that I was fine. This was my first big purchase beside my CEO office. CS says if it's absolutely necessary to get started, then go for it. However, if a newcomer is introduced to the game by a GTA veteran, then the vet can help the noob make money. That's another big thing I keep hearing. So for some people it might be needed to start off, while on the other hand, if you get some help selling and grinding, it's gonna make things tremendously easier. Getting carried and mentored early in your career and not wasting money on useless things does really help a lot. And HOMC president echoes this point and says, all you need, Sonny, is 3 friends who live for heisting. Sure, doing them is repetitive, but the more you work with a solid crew, the faster you'll get through them. Plus, the Criminal Mastermind achievement pays out around 14 million when you combine all those earnings and bonuses. Shortcuts are cheating in my opinion, but to each their own. And lastly, Everybody Solo says, I was able to get up and running by grinding contact missions and taking advantage of the double money events. It's only really needed if you're not into grinding. So he never had to buy a shortcut, but still managed to land on his feet by simply utilizing the double money events and following that up with the businesses. So let's recap and try to summarize. Is it needed to buy a shortcut to set you up? It simply boils down to how much is your time worth, and how much do you enjoy the grind. If you have the time and you enjoy making money, no, you definitely don't need to buy a shark card. There's plenty of great ways to make money, and even though prices are inflated, it's not impossible to grind your way up the criminal ladders. If you don't have the time though and still want to enjoy the game, shark cards might be the way forward for you. Regardless, the value of shark cards is a tough situation. We can all agree that the worth of these microtransactions took a massive hit with the inflation of prices. I think a lot of people would actually be more okay with the microtransactions if the actual money that you got was way more or the prices of those cards dropped massively. Right now that balance seems to be totally gone. So I'm gonna pitch it back to you guys in the comments. Give me your thoughts on whether you think shark cards are necessary to set you up. Do you think they hold a place in GTA Online? And lastly, leave a like if you did enjoy, subscribe for more, and I will see you all later. Peace out.